Did you know that 70% of Australians experience lifestyle creep after a raise or a bonus? That's right. Even if you're earning more, your spending tends to creep up right along with it. And with the new 2024 tax cuts, this sneaky habit is even more dangerous. Welcome to Dollars and Dreams, the podcast designed to empower you to take control of your personal and business finance. You know, the very thought of money and finance can often send chills down your spine and stir up fear of the unknown. But let's change that narrative together. Through this podcast, my goal is to not only to provide you with useful information, but also to inspire and motivate you to take action towards your own financial goals. Let's rewrite your money story together. Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Dollars and Dreams. And of course, happy Thursday. Today's episode is about something that I am really passionate about as a financial literacy coach. And it's something that we all do, including me, and that is we spend our bonuses or our increase in income without even thinking about it. And it's called lifestyle creep. So lifestyle creep, or what is sometimes called lifestyle inflation, is a subtle but insidious tendency to increase our spending as our income increases. So whenever we get a pay rise or we get a bonus or even a tax cut, we tend to change our spending habits. So it's a silent thief, and it robs us of our financial progress because we think it's only one small indulgence, or I've got this bonus, I'm going to go and buy that handbag I always wanted, or I got a pay, so I'm going to start buying food differently to what foods I bought before. I'm going to start buying luxuries. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that as we increase our income or we get a bonus, that we shouldn't take a little indulgence for ourselves. We shouldn't change our habits, because that is what we strive for when we're trying to get pay rises or bonuses and things like that. But what I am talking about is that we still keep control of our money. So I always say to everybody, whenever you get a pay rise or you get a bonus or you get a tax cut even, and we'll talk about those a little bit later in the podcast, keep in mind that this is an opportunity for you to get ahead financially. It's an opportunity for you to start reaching goals that you thought were out of your reach. It's an opportunity for you to start paying down your debt or to invest in your future. And it is an opportunity for you to have some nice things in your life. But as I always say, there is a happy medium. You want your income to give you a better lifestyle, because that's what we all thrive to have in our life, is a better lifestyle than what we have now. But it cannot be at the cost of future you, because future you needs to have financial stability. Future you needs that emergency fund that you need to have so that you can get ahead in life. And of course, our emergency fund's there to protect us should something go wrong. And while, doing a splurge, whether it's buying a new car or going out for dinner more often or going on more holidays or taking a more expensive holiday or even buying more clothes or more expensive clothes than you would have bought, whilst they seem like harmless little thing, it's all about the accumulation of those. So a one-off is fine. If you get a bonus and you say to yourself, I desperately need a new car, I'm going to go and get rid of that car and get a new one because it's costing me too much in repairs. As long as that is the only splurge you do, that is fine. But we see people all the time that they get a pay rise or they get a bonus, and all of a sudden, they've gone and bought new handbag, new shoes, new clothes, they've gone out for dinner, they've had the weekend away, and it is that cumulative thing. And all of a sudden, the entire bonus or the entire pay rise has been absorbed into spending. In isolation, a splurge is fine. It's the constant splurge and the accumulation and creating a cycle of the never-ending wants that are now being spent on. The real danger of lifestyle creep lies in its invisibility, because it's not a thing where you go, I'm going to go and spend more on my groceries every week, or I'm going to spend more on clothes every week. It's a gradual thing that you don't realize. The one-off splurges is not invisible. You've made a conscious decision that you want to buy a new car, or you need a new wardrobe because you've been wearing the same clothes to work, week in, week out for a year. So there's nothing wrong with doing a splurge, but as I said, it's the lifestyle creep. Now, lifestyle creep is actually where you go from, this is what I used to do on a day-to-day basis, to this is what I now do on a day-to-day basis. Instead of your grocery bills being very vigilant on what you're spending on, all of a sudden you're buying, the packets of biscuits that are at the end of the aisle, or instead of buying no-name brands, you're buying named brands, or you're buying more cuts of meat that are more expensive. You can certainly do that 1 or 2 nights a week, but the other 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever it is, you need to keep control. So lifestyle creep is that gradual process of absorbing your new income into your daily spending. Quite often we see with people that have got a new job and got a significant pay rise that they haven't actually done anything with it. Now, you might say the reason they haven't done anything with it is because the cost of living has gone up. I'm not saying that for a moment that things aren't more expensive, because they certainly are, but there is still always control that you can have. Remember, money likes direction. So if you don't give your money a direction, it will find its own, and that is the day-to-day expenses that you do. So lifestyle creep is not something that happens overnight. It's the gradual increase, and it's the place where you will gradually increase, as I said, where you're spending money on a day-to-day basis. So you've got this pay rise, you've got this tax cut, or you've got a bonus, and all of a sudden you're actually no better off financially than you were before. So all I ask is that when you get this increase in your income, is that you give that money direction, whether it be to pay off some of your debt, to invest in your future, or to start reaching those goals that you thought were out of your reach. The idea behind getting a bonus or extra money in your pay, the thrill of that extra money runs out very quickly whenever you are struggling. And so if you don't give your money direction, you will be back where you were, wondering how to pay that bill when it comes in, wondering what you've got to do to get ahead financially and break that cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. So use your advantage, use your pay rise, use what you get as a bonus to give you something that you didn't have before. So ultimately, lifestyle creep is rooted in our need to have a better status in life, for social comparison. And I've done lots of podcasts and I've got lots of blogs and things on how that mentality that we have of wanting to fit into society drives us with our money. And as you know, I'm huge on mindset, and particularly money mindset. So when we see people with things that we've always desired and we get this pay rise, we think, I can have that now. I can buy those clothes that I've never been able to buy. I can have that car that I've always wanted but never could afford it. And so all of a sudden our need to be accepted in society, or to be that person that we think we need to be, takes over what we do. And it is the driving force for lifestyle creep. It is especially true with social media that we have. So we're always exposed to what other people have or what other people are doing. And so that bombardment of social media and, the whole, this is my life, isn't it great? Remember I said in another podcast a few weeks ago about the iceberg. What you see on social media is the tip of the iceberg. 90% of it is below waterline. And that's what we're not seeing. We don't see the stress that they have. We don't see whether it is smoke and mirrors. We don't see lots of things. So if you get a bonus or a pay rise, don't try to keep up with the Joneses or the FOMO, because you will never win financially. So the illusion of keeping up with the Joneses can be part of lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep can be just that I've always struggled, so now I don't have to struggle so much. And as I said earlier in this podcast, I'm not saying for 1 minute that getting a pay rise means that you have to sacrifice it all into future you. You don't, but there's got to be a happy medium. Split it. So I'll get 50% more to live on a day-to-day basis, and the 50% I will put away. Now, for those of you in Australia, the 1st of July, we had tax cuts come in. So I've been talking to my clients about what they've done with their tax cuts. And for most people, they've done nothing. So, I'm not saying that times aren't tough, because the cost of living is tough. Interest rates on their mortgages is pushing their mortgage repayment up. Or if you're renting, of course, your rental payments have gone up because your landlord's interest rate has gone up. But making a conscious decision to put part of that into future you can set you on a path to financial freedom. And I'm all about, as you know, I'm your money girl, and I want to make sure that people can live the life that they want to live, not just the life that's all they can afford to live. And I see many people, particularly women, retiring with not enough money to sustain a lifestyle that they want. And so what I want you to do is to actually get stuck into working towards your financial future, to put money aside for future you. And that's part of what we should have been doing with our tax cuts. Now, my sons, I did this with them, and I got them to increase their super contribution. I think I've said in other podcasts that I've had my boys putting extra into super. It's only $20 or $30 a week, but they've been putting that away since they started work. And when I showed them the numbers and said, you do this, you'll be able to retire with a couple of $100,000 more in super, or you can retire earlier than what you think you can, it makes a huge difference, because we have that compounding interest. As you know, that I always say, it's the eighth wonder of the world. And with that compounding interest, you can make a huge difference to the future you. So putting part of your tax cut pay rise away into super, or into an investment, or into your debts can make a huge difference to what you have in your future life. It can mean the difference between just surviving and being able to have a life that you want when you cut back your working hours because you might be about to have a family, or cutting back working hours because your children have left home. So be very directive with your pay cut. Just take half of it for yourself and put half somewhere else that will build up your future. The idea of lifestyle creep happens, as we said, quite silently, so you don't even realize. But take the time. I'm very much a person that knowledge is power. So go back and look at what you were spending on groceries and what you are after you get the pay rise. Now, I know if you go back 12 months or 2 years ago, your groceries would be significantly different because of inflation. As we know, fruit and veggies have gone up, meat's gone up, dairy's gone up, and everything that we're buying has gone up through inflation. But leaving that aside, have a look at what your spending is on groceries and everything, because that's where it drifts away. Have a look at what you're spending on clothes, shoes, makeup, nights out, weekends away, and all those things. So make an informed decision. And quite often when we go back and look at where we came from to where we are now, we can have a really good understanding of what our lifestyle creep has been. We always do this when we're working with business owners. We always say, set your goals for in 12 months' time, because in 12 months' time, we're going to look back at where you came from. Because when you're in anything on a day-to-day basis, our mind is focused on what we're doing now, not what we used to do or what we should be doing. It is focused just on the now. So be very descriptive in what you do. And get yourself off that hedonic treadmill. So the hedonic treadmill is also known as the hedonic adaptation, and it's a psychological concept that explains our tendency to quickly return to a relatively stable level of happiness. And so when we're getting this pay rise, what happens is we're really positive when we get it, and it's that euphoria. And I don't know how many people I've spoken to since those tax cuts came in on the 1st of July that are going, how good is this? I got an extra $50 a week. And they were very excited about it. We're now some months into that pay rise, and nobody's showing that excitement or that real enthusiasm for that extra pay, because it's now standard. So that hedonic treadmill now says that this isn't a positive environment you're finding yourself in now. This is status quo. This is what you get every week. And so when you go to do your grocery shopping or your online shopping or anything, you look at the status of what you have now, which is that pay increase. And so what happens then is that positive, and it works the other way too with the negative, it has now become your baseline. So when you get that positive experience, the hedonic treadmill actually says that you're happy for a little bit of period, but now you've gone back to the real status quo. This is day. And I'm hearing people already, and we're only, a couple of months into this new pay rise through the tax cuts, that groceries are killing us, this is killing us. And all of a sudden, what was the negative of the life that they have is still the negative, even though they have more money. So you quickly return to that baseline. For most people, that real positive environment of that tax cut was only maybe 2 weeks. After we got through that second pay cycle, people just went, how am I going to pay my groceries? This has gone up, that's gone up. And that real joy that they got out of that pay rise because of the tax cuts is now gone. So it is important that you understand that hedonic treadmill, because it does let you realize that you're constantly chasing external rewards for lasting happiness. So you're constantly looking for that pay increase or the extra money into your bank account to give you that real sense of happiness that you got when you get a pay rise or when you get a bonus. You can't keep that going forever. It's impossible. You can't look at your pay every week and go, how good's this? I've got a pay rise. I'm getting all this extra money. But what you need to do is cultivate that real sense of, I have control of this. This is a bonus to me. So if you change jobs and you get, let's say a $12,000 pay rise, so an extra $1,000 a month. After tax, we're going to say that's $600. So you've got an extra $600 coming into your bank account every month. If you don't make a conscious decision, you will be spending that extra $600. As I said, there's nothing wrong with upgrading your lifestyle, because that is why you changed jobs, to get an extra $12,000. But it can't be at the cost of future you. So the hedonic treadmill is closely linked to lifestyle creep, because when you're on that hedonic treadmill, you have adapted to what is your new norm. So you go and spend everything that you have. You've now upgraded your lifestyle from being very careful with your grocery shopping to buying some luxuries that you didn't buy as often as you do now. As I said, there's nothing wrong with buying some luxuries, but they've got to be not every week. And it's a bit like, I guess, when you go and see the doctor and they say, how many standard drinks of alcohol do you have a night? Nobody says you can't have alcohol, but you can't have it every single night. Like, any doctor would hit the roof if you said, I was having 20 standard drinks every night. That cannot happen. That's the equivalent of the lifestyle creep, in that all of a sudden you're buying the Tim Tams or the lollies or the things that you don't need every single shopping trip. So be very careful that you're conscious of your spending when you get a pay rise or a bonus, so that you don't fall into the lifestyle creep. As I said at the start, lifestyle creep is the biggest thing that I see when I'm trying to work with people who are trying to build their own financial freedom, because they don't even notice that it has happened. And it's a bit like, when we start doing something on a daily basis, it takes time to build a habit. You've taken that time to build the habit of being very careful with your spending, and all of a sudden you don't need to because you've got extra money. And so you go, I can afford those Tim Tams this week, or I can afford to go for brunch every Sunday with my girlfriends, or instead of cooking dinner on a Friday night, we're going to treat ourselves to takeout on a Friday night. Again, nothing wrong with treating yourself or doing things. They just can't become part of your everyday life. So how do you break free from the lifestyle creep? Because the hedonic treadmill is very real. FOMO is very real, and everything is up against you to counteract the lifestyle creep that will come into your life if you don't give your money direction. And of course, my first one, which is everything that I always say, consciously look at where you spend your money. Don't just tap and go. And the easiest way to do that is through my 6 bank account system that I do. So if you transfer money to your everyday spending account, which is one of our 6 bank accounts, it means that when you're doing your shopping or you're doing all the things that you do on a week-to-week basis, your funds in that everyday spending account are locked into that's all that you can spend. So having that control, you've given your money direction, because you've told your money that when I've spent this, that's it till my next payday. So if I overspend on my groceries every week, I'm not going to be able to put petrol in my car, or I'm not going to have the money to pay for my public transport or my day-to-day activities. And of course, the control that the 6 bank accounts that we use here are about you not having to look after your money on a day-to-day basis. It's about that bank account restriction holding you to what you've said it will be for. With the 6 bank accounts, you obviously can't steal money from one bank account to use in something else. So practicing gratitude is another way that you can break free of the lifestyle creep. And of course, that's connected to the FOMO that we feel when people are on social media, because we see what other people have and we want what they have, because that is in our human nature. So if you constantly practice gratitude, where you're grateful for what you have, grateful for what you have achieved. So I'm not saying that I'm putting here that we should be grateful that, I've got a roof over my head, clothes to wear and food on our table, which is what we quite often hear. Practicing gratitude for me is a little bit more than that. Think about what is not the physical things like the clothes, the food, and the food on the table, because that, if you don't have, is very different. That is where you are struggling in life and you need maybe financial counselling. But what I'm talking about with the practicing gratitude is practice that you have good health. Practice the gratitude that you can get up each day, because there's a lot of people that can't, that you're not undergoing life-threatening injuries or illness. Practice that you have a good job, or if you don't, that you're actively trying to get yourself a better job where you're not working in an environment that's not conducive for your good mental health, or an environment where you're not paid your due worth. Practice that you have been able to take financial control over your life. And it's one of the things that I find when I'm working with people is that Creating those 6 bank accounts frees up money stress for them, and practice the gratitude that you've been able to educate yourself so that you can get control of your money and it doesn't control your life. Think about your mindset when it comes to things. Go outside and enjoy the sunshine, or take a walk where you get those happy endorphins going. Do something regularly that brings happiness to your life. And I was at a networking dinner the other night, and the lady that was the guest speaker was all about mindset, which is why I was there, because I love learning about mindset. It is something that really drives me. And this lady was saying that her happy place is to take a walk next to the ocean. She lives near the ocean, and that's what she does every day. And it starts off that it gets her day off to a good start. She clears her head. She sometimes sees dolphins. She, hears the crashing of the waves, the birds, and that real happy place for her. We've had a lot of rain here over this winter where we live, and of course she said there's been days that she hasn't walked, and she said she can feel the change in her mental state. And she said her husband has got very attuned to her changing mental state when she hasn't, and he'll quite often say, we haven't been for a walk and done what gets you in your happy place. Get your raincoat and your umbrella, we're going. And she said as soon as she gets back out there, even though it's, she doesn't want to go because it's raining, it's miserable, it's freezing cold, but she gets out there, and she said by the time she comes back from her hour walk next to the ocean, she has a completely different mindset. And she said, I thank myself every day for being able to have that in my life. And that is, for me, what I talk about when I say to people, practice gratitude. We're not talking about the physical things that are in our life, although we should be thankful that we have food on our table, because some people don't. And so keeping in mind the practicing gratitude gives you that you're not going to be caught up in that FOMO of social media. It's also important that you prioritize your expenses. How do you want your money to be spent? What is most important to you? And how do you want to live your life? And as I said, the future you needs to thank you. So I always say to everybody, when you get a pay rise, relook at your visualization board that you have. And I'm a big believer in having a visualization board there, because it reminds you of what is your priorities. Is it that holiday you want to take? Or is it the the business that you want to have? Or is it going and spending time with family and friends, or the walk next to the ocean like this lady has? If those things are on your visualization board, they will constantly remind you of what is important to you. And it may not be that packet of Tim Tams that you need to buy every shopping trip, or the luxuries that are very much a luxury don't become an everyday item. So the visualization board will keep you focused on experiences or goals over things that are material. So I've never seen anybody in their visualization board have the packets of biscuits or cakes, or the premium ice cream instead of the cheaper ice creams. I've never seen them on anybody's visualization board. And yet with Lifestyle Creep, they come in and they are the hijacker of those goals of the holiday, the car, the lounge, the spending weekends away with family and friends, and all of those sorts of things. So keep in mind also, when you're trying to prevent lifestyle creep, that you don't always have to spend money to have experiences. As this lady that was the guest speaker at the Mindset networking event I went to, her experiences was walking by the ocean. That is completely free. It gives her the boost. That may not be everybody's version of what makes you happy. Some people, it's out walking in the bush. Other people, it is sitting and crocheting or sitting and sewing. My happy place is certainly, I'm a sewer, and I love just sitting in front of my sewing machine and making things. My happy place used to be doing cross stitches when my kids were little. I used to love doing cross stitch. And that would be my perfect Sunday, is just to sit on the lounge and cross stitch for a few hours. So whatever your perfect breakaway from life is, make that something that you do instead of spending money. So practice mindfulness, being present for where you are now in your life is also a really important part of making sure lifestyle creep doesn't come into your life. Because if you're in the now and the present, you will not be looking at the hopes and dreams of what other people have, and you will not fall victim to spending money that you didn't want to spend. And as a final note, as I said, look at where you're spending your money. Look back at where you used to spend your money and see where that creep has come into your life. It might be that you used to buy majority of your clothes from one of those discounted retailers, and now you're buying it at a more expensive retailer. If it's the one or two items that are going to last a long time, great. Go spend the money on that. But if it's everyday things that you don't need to buy from those expensive retailers, go back to spending at the cheaper retailers. I quite often buy all my basics, and I'm not going to say the name of the retailers, but it's the one that we all know of. They sell absolutely everything. But I buy my basics from there, because undies, bras, socks, singlets, those sorts of things don't make any difference. The gym pants that I wear to walk my dogs, doesn't matter that I don't have the big named brand, and they are significantly cheaper. So if it's something that serves the purpose and you don't need the more expensive things, then go for it. Whereas the work clothes that I buy, I like to buy nice, comfortable work clothes. So sometimes, like my jackets and things that I wear to work, I will buy more expensive ones because I know they're going to last. So it comes down to the cost per wear. So if I wear my linen jackets that I wear to work and I have lots of wears out them, I get good value from that. Whereas I have bought cheaper ones, they're very fashionable, they'll change, they don't keep their shape very well and things like that. Think about all of those things when you're looking at your spending and lifestyle creep. Keep notes. So download my money dashboard, which you can find on my website, jenrichardson.co, and that will actually keep track of where your spending is per month without you having to do a lot. And it's a nice way for you to go, you know what, my spending is actually going up and it shouldn't be. My life hasn't changed. Things I shouldn't be doing haven't changed. So you'll find my money dashboard in the resources tab on my homepage, jenrichardson.co. You can download that. It's completely free, and I have lots of resources there to help you along your financial path. So that's it for today's podcast. I hope that that's a little bit informative and to help you beat the lifestyle creep that comes into all of our lives, and to understand that hedonic treadmill that we can be on without realizing it. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching to this podcast so that you get notified when we drop a new episode. And of course, if you have anybody that could benefit from what I am helping you with, please send them my way, as we will all be benefited if we have greater financial freedom in our lives. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now. Remember, the advice shared in Dollars and Dreams is general in nature, and it does not consider your own personal circumstances. Dollars and Dreams is for educational purposes only and should not be relied upon to make investment or financial decisions. If you need more help, please reach out to a financial advisor for tailored personal advice. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. And please leave me a review. Your feedback really helps me to reach other people chasing their money dreams. You can find me over on Facebook and Instagram to connect with me. You will find the link in the bio, or head over to my website at jenrichardson.co, where you will find free content and learning tools.